Okay, so let's see. What were there was homework 4, homework 5, and homework 6. So homework 5 was the PHP multiplication table. So the things that people didn't do is make sure it's spelled and capitalized as always. HTML validator. That was the things that you automatically disqualified for if you didn't do. So there's grades in for those. So if you have a 0, check that. And then there are notes above about minor things, about other things. Who's points for? So that's like, you can look up at that. Okay, homework 4 was the WordPress one. Grades are in, same thing. If you have a 0, check spelling, capitalization of HTML and CSS file, and the HTML and CSS validators. Make sure if you make the window smaller, it still looks good. And put a link to your WordPress site. So those are the notes for those.
Is there a late due date for homework 4?
Homework 4, homework 5, the late due date has not been set. So we can set that to be whatever you guys want. So the deal is, you can keep working on it as long as you want. That just means I don't have to grade it again yet.
But you didn't mention any mistakes that we've done in our WordPress.
So I gave a list up in the, look up at the grading notes and then check the list of things that that I took off for and see if any of them make sense for your site.
Okay.
So in general about the homework grading, so homework, quiz, test, whatever, any type of grading like that, I'll give a list of mistakes. So that way it doesn't take me forever to write down for each person in Blackboard or something what you particularly did. Homework 6 was supposed to be, what was that one? Conversion, okay. Did anybody start working on that? Some people started working on it. Any questions, trouble? You want some advice? Let me show you, let me think. I've done this program so many times. I think I have it in some other language. Let's try. That's not what I was looking for. All right, I'll just do it new. All right, so how many different units were there? There were like 5 or something that you're supposed to do, or 6, or 8. 8 different units. So you could do basically 64 if tests in your code, right? Because you're basically going to have, let's see, so there's 8 different units to convert from and to convert to, right? So 64 different possibilities. For the 2 things, you select meters and you select miles or whatever, so that's 8 choices for this, 8 choices for this. So you could do 64 if tests to do the calculation, because each one you're going to have a different factor. So if they choose, so there's going to be something like 1, foot equals blank miles. So you're going to take this number, and depending on whatever this unit is and whatever this unit is, you're going to multiply it by something or divide it by something, right? So if it was feet in miles, then maybe you would call this thing x or whatever, and then this would be x over, what is it, 5,280 feet in a mile. But if this was inches, then you would do x times 12, right? So if you wanted to, you could have 64 different ifs. If the first unit is feet and the first unit is miles, then do this one. If the first unit is feet and the second unit is inches, then do this one. You could do that, and you probably would make some mistakes because you have 64 different ifs. Another way to organize all the calculations would be something like this. And this isn't really to do with PHP. You'll have to figure out a way to do it in PHP, but this is just one way to logically think about it. So store an array that has each unit converted to some particular thing, say meters. Okay, so you, instead of having 64 different choices, if you're just converting each unit to meters, how many different conversion factors are there? There's 8 units, you convert each one to meters, that's 8 different. So if you have 8 different units, then that's 8 conversion factors. Then when you convert from unit 1 to unit 2, first convert to meters, then convert to unit 2. So that's one way to organize it, so that you only have 8 different conversion factors, and you could do it with 8 if tests, and then 8 if tests, or with 2 for loops. I'll let you try to figure that out yourself. So here, I'll even go further into detail. I would do something like conversions equals, how do you do an array in PHP? Array, you can just say array. Declaring an array, creating an array. So I could do just array names equals array. Conversions, if you do like this, it adds .0 names equals meters. Conversions equals 0.01 names equals centimeters. Conversions equals so that would set up 2 arrays. One of them. So then I would have 2 arrays. One is, this is what I multiply by if I start with meters and I want to get to centimeters. Let's see, whichever way. Let's see, let's make it like, no, let's leave it like this. Okay, so this is, if I have something expressed in centimeters and I want to convert it to meters, I multiply by this. If I have something in yards and I want to convert it to meters, I multiply by this. So you could have 8 of these for 8 different units, and then your for loop would go and take whatever's selected here, compare it against the names, and when you find it, then that's the conversion factor that you want. You would have something like for I equals 0, I less than names. How do you get the length of an array? Anybody remember? Array size? There's a vote for dot length. Let's just, I don't remember. Count? Size of? Maybe they do the same thing. Let's say the count is going to work. If unit 1 something like this. So there's going to be something in your code to take whatever's selected for the first unit, put it into a variable. We've done that. And then say that's in a variable called unit 1. If it is, then whatever that value is, you want to check to see, is it one of these names? And whenever you find it, then if we set it up like this, then that's the conversion factor you would want to use to convert from unit 1 to meters, or from meters to unit 1. I don't know. This is how I would organize it, or one way. Let's take a pause and see if you want to ask anything else about the homeworks. Ready, go. Questions, comments, homeworks?
Are you going to grade homework 4 and 5 again?
Homework 4 has been graded. Wait, homework 5 is not. Homework 4 and 5 have been graded, right? And so I'll grade them again whenever you guys are ready for that. You can let me know. So we don't have to put a due date on it until you want. Homework 6 has not been graded. That was supposed to be for tonight. But I'm willing to not grade it until later if you tell me not to grade it tomorrow. What do you guys want to do? Okay, so homework 6, you can work on that until Thursday. I won't grade it till Friday or Monday then. The first time. Anything else? Homeworks?
How do you output something on an input text field from PHP?
How do you output to a text file?
Yeah, text field.
Text field?
Yeah.
You mean, so like you want this to be
In text field.
an input?
Yeah, that's output that should be going into the text field. I have an input.
Well, so we've done this with, let's take a look. Which one? What was last class? Was September 27? No, that was September 24. No, I'm going to go back to. Okay, so this one here, it's outputting, the PHP is outputting to the minimum and the maximum.
Yeah.
So if you look in September 22, the way it's organized is at the beginning, it goes and sets up these variables, min, max. And if there was already something in the form, then it gets those. Then down below here, this is where it puts it in. So value equals, and then there's PHP code there.
It's trying the same thing, but it's not working for me.
So you're doing something wrong, yeah.
I use like PHP, echo.
Yeah, that's fine. You could use the PHP. If you're putting it in quotes, it's still probably fine.
No, actually my answer would come after this form is completed. So like the code of PHP would be after this, after the field set. So
That's probably fine, yeah.
I don't.
I mean, so one thing you can do is you turn on the error reporting. In one of the files, we did that so that you can see if any of the functions are actually having errors.
I checked out with errors, but I didn't find anything. Like I compiled using PHP and all.
Let's just take a look. It'll be instructive. What number?
It's 10. It is not really
Malt table, is that the one?
Not the latest one. Convert units.
What's it called? Convert?
Convert units.php.
Okay, so you want to click convert and then you want it to show up here?
Actually, I want to show it on the.
You want to show it here?
Yeah, but it's not. I didn't figure out how to go over there.
Okay, so the difference between this one would be, so up here you would have, if the form has been submitted, then you would use something like this, and then you could set something in here that has your value equals whatever conversion formula. And then down here you could just leave it like that, and then down here you could have in your value part there if is set value echo value else echo nothing. Yes, would be good enough. Something like that should work, unless you have some other problem. How many units do you have there? So do you have 16 different?
No.
Does it only work for one?
It worked, but I can do 16
Yeah.
conversions.
Okay. Any other questions on the homeworks? Okay, so where we were from last time was here, where we had our chat forum, and we were setting a cookie for the password, and I apparently haven't closed my browser. It's still not asking for the password. So the next thing up, if you look at where we are, PHP, there's cookies, there's more cookies, there's SQL and databases, SQL, and then to JavaScript. So the rest of the cookies and there's more on cookies and sessions, and then the SQL is basically storing data. Okay, so that's where we're going, and what can we do? We'll do something like coming up, cookies, sessions, SQL. What can we do with that? Store data on the server. So example programs that we can do our chat with usernames and passwords, and each user has some information about them, like an icon, a name, and whatever. What other examples? That's one. I don't know. Okay, playing a game of something. We should have a better game than tic-tac-toe of something. Okay, so that'd be playing a game would be another one where you need to store data on the server. So a person logs in or comes to the server is keeping track of multiple different games of chess or something that are going on. You get paired up with somebody, you click a button to make a move, that gets sent to the other person's web browser. And so you go back and forth like that. So that'd be another one that we would need to store data on the server. All right, and then we're on to JavaScript, which is what you really want to do, right? Games, like balls going across the screen. And I don't know. All right, so there's one outstanding thing, and you guys can decide what we want to do with this. So this is the quiz, the HTML CSS quiz from some number of days ago that hasn't been graded. So we could grade this today, you guys, or we can wait to see when I'm going to have time to do it. So if we're going to grade it today, what would I do? I would do an example. I would sort of write up the code, take like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to write up the code, and then I pass them around. You take two, because not everybody's here, and we go through, this is what you need to mark off for. You mark them off, you give them back to me, and then I can add them up. We could do that, and then it would be done, or we can wait. You want to wait? Who wants to wait? Who wants to finish it today? You guys lose. All right. I was thinking that would be great, you know, like we might do that next time, but then I'll have you write your CS numbers instead of your names on your papers. Right. For anonymity. Your 601 numbers. All right, fine. Then we'll keep waiting on that. And the hold up on that, was that quiz 1? Still waiting. So the hold up was, I was confused about the different versions of the quiz, and I finally figured that out. So, all right, we can move on and start looking at SQL and or whatever, or we can do more examples with the PHP, we can do more examples with HTML and CSS if you're still not sure about something. So why don't you take a minute and decide what do you want to see if you still have questions about stuff. So discuss, what do you guys want to do?
session?
All right, what do we want to do? HTML, CSS, PHP.
PHP.
Okay. Do you have something in particular that you want to do, or just more examples? The homework? You want to do the homework? Is that what you want to do, or? Overview again?
Are you saying we can do the homework?
Huh? In class? That wouldn't be useful for you. SQL, I was thinking, so SQL is the database language, and then I was thinking we'll use SQLite, because I don't have to do anything for you to use that. So MySQL, when you get to the SQL lectures, there's a slide. So this is a slide of different SQL. So SQL, structured query language, is just a language to basically store things into tables. It's like you have an Excel spreadsheet, but you have commands to put stuff into new rows and whatever. So MySQL is the default one on websites. So it's installed on our server, but I would have to create MySQL accounts for you all, and I probably don't want to do that. SQLite is the same kind of thing, except instead of storing it into this program, it's just in a file. So the commands are almost the same, but at the beginning you say SQLite instead of MySQL. So that's probably what we'll do, and then it'll just be sitting in some file in your account. And then the other ones, Microsoft and Oracle, you have to pay. We don't pay for software because we're CS. We do.
You can use the G version.
Yeah, we don't like to do that. All right. Okay, so you want, is there a particular question that somebody has about PHP or what?
Oh, do you use like LAMP and MAMP and all that stuff to WAMP?
LAMP and WAMP and AMP and whatever. This is, so that's just an acronym of different things that are installed. So Linux, the servers are Linux or Windows generally, or Mac, but Mac's not as common. So Apache is the web server. Apache is the thing that's listening on port 80 for GET requests and whatever. And Apache is the one that's in charge of parsing our file and understanding the PHP and sending it to the PHP program. So that's, Apache is the web server. SQL would be the database program. We're going to use SQLite probably when we get there. And PHP is our scripting language. In the code, there are others. ASP, JSP. You can do Perl. You can do Python. You can do C. You can theoretically do anything.
Can you do Ruby on Rails?
Ruby, you could do Ruby, yeah. PHP probably has the largest number of pages out of all of those choices. And it's free, and there's lots of documentation. No, so was there a particular thing that you guys wanted to do with PHP? Cookies and sessions?
I mean, we didn't have any example.
Okay. All right, let's...
So what is the difference between both?
In which contexts should we use the cookie session?
Okay, cookies and sessions. So we'll go to... All right, so this is what we did last time. We had, let's go to September 24th chat. And let's maybe just start a new file, September 29th. Okay, so I'm going to start a new file, do the usual thing. Oh, that's right. I don't know. Let's just make sure that can display. Hello. All right, so let's say that we just want to make a page where there will be a form and you can put some information in and it'll just display what everybody has always put in. So that's similar to the chat program, but then we'll have some session and cookie or something or other. So let's make a form. How do you make a form? You do form action equals, you could have some other file. Method equals, let's just say post. What was the caption? Was it called legend? Is that right? Tell us about yourself. We're going to need to have a submit button. Input type equals submit. Value equals submit. And let's say input type equals text. Value equals name. Let's call it your favorite star. And something else. Your favorite mathematician. And advice. Does anybody remember the attribute for saying how wide the input field is?
Let's let column.
Column row.
COL.
That's for text area. Size?
Width, probably.
Width? Let's just try size and see what happens. Size works, okay. I wanted name. Leave it empty originally. Why don't we do one other thing? Make up a phone number. Okay, what if we want these to line up? Table? Let's do a table. Well, table would be one. Let's do, sure, we'll do that. Okay, let's see. That's lined up. If we want to modify the spacing or something, you could do that with CSS, right? Do you want to? You don't want to. We'll do it anyway, all right. In the head, we need to have link. What's next? Rel? Is that it? I never remember because I'm not taking the class. Href, is that what it is? Type equals, probably doesn't matter what order they're in. Okay, so table, we'll call this class equals data input or something. That's probably no good. Let's do padding. Right. I don't know. All right. Okay, and if we type right now, it just, nothing happens right now. Just reloads the page. Okay, so let's say that we want to store this information in a text file like we did last time. How does that work? Somewhere we need to check to see if they submitted the form. So how do you check to see if the form was submitted? Is set. So you're checking if a variable set, and what will the variable be? So was it going to be get or post? Post. So I said post, it'll be post. Post, and then the name of one of these, check submit. And first off, let's just make sure okay, so that works. All right, now we want to take the data what do we have? Some favorite information. if I want to put an actual new line in there, I have to use the double quotes, single quotes. It doesn't do the escape characters with the single quotes. All right, so some favorite information, and the information is star. What else did I have? Mathematician. Advice. And let's just display this as text so we can just put in spaces to line it up. Okay, let's put this into a file. Called favorites.txt. Okay, so what's the function called to put it into a file? File underscore whatever was in the one from last time, right? This business, put contents. And then we wanted to do this business of file append file lock ex. And then we'll display as well. So getting the contents was file get contents. We'll use this. Okay, so if they submit the form, we add to the end of the file. Whether they submitted the form or not, we're going to show it. Nothing shows up. Does anybody remember why? There's nothing there. What is it called? Favorites. So there's a favorites.txt file, and if we submit this again, nothing's showing up. If you turn on the error reporting, so in the September 24th file, there was these lines here that you could, if you uncomment these lines, this is what we did last time, we'll see any errors that might happen. Permission denied to the favorites.txt file. That happened last time. and the fix for that is if you're writing to a file, then Apache needs to have access. You need to remember the set facl command, and user Apache gets read and write access to favorites. So now I should be able to, what's your favorite star? Sirius, mathematician, Gauss, advice, do good things, make up a phone number, a US phone number. Interesting. The actual contents, we need to put the actual contents in. So what did it put into the file? The second parameter, I forgot to put my information in here. So it's supposed to be the second parameter, but it did this instead, which if you view this as a integer, apparently it's the number 10. That means that one of these flags is 8 and one of them is 2. Okay, let's do this again. That doesn't look good, right? Okay, so I need to actually set up these variables. Okay. We'll do it like this. That's going along fine. All right. So if we only want this thing to be submitted once, then one of the things we could do is set a cookie, right? If we only want this person to do this once, set a cookie or session. So if we look over in the over here, you set a cookie and then you they have the code. We had the code last time, right? So if you have already set a cookie on their computer, then this variable will be there. And you could do the same thing with a session. So the difference is the what's the difference? Okay, so the difference between a cookie and a session is the cookie is stored on the client and a session is stored on the server. So if you look at this here, the code will look basically the same, except we have cookie and session interchanging. So if there's a session, then here's the client and here's the server. So when you create a session, the server sends some kind of code to the client. And then when you try to get information, It's not that great of a picture. Let's draw on the board. Okay, so here's the client server. If you can't see because the lights are too low, you have to turn them up. So let's say that we're in here and we say $cookie name. Okay, because we're in PHP. And PHP runs on the server, right? So if you're in PHP, it's running on the server, you say, give me cookie. And what has to happen is the client has to have sent that. And if you say cookie name equals Jeff, then that gets stored. The long-term storage for that lives on the client. So when your PHP runs, we'll keep a local copy, but then that gets sent back to the client will keep it in its browser. If they go to some other site and then they come back to our site, the client web browser is the one that sends it back. Okay, so that's cookies. Cookies really live on the client. And you basically are just keeping a copy on the server. When you load the page, the client will send you those cookies. A session, you have so when you ask for the name of a session, what happens is the client over here has a session ID, ABC, and some sort of code. So when you start a session, the server sends ABC session. That's all the client keeps. It just keeps the ABC session. And then over on the server, you have ABC name, whatever. And then you may have another web browser that has session DEF name. I don't know, Mary. Okay, so if you're, let's say that we're storing a password and a username. Do you want to use a session or a cookie? Session. Why?
It will be secure at the server side.
We trust our server more than the web browsers, because the web browsers are out in the world, all kinds of people. So if somebody else uses your computer or some other program is running on your computer, it potentially has access to anything that's over here. So it has access to your cookies. If you're storing a credit card number in a cookie, that's a bad thing to do. If you're storing the credit card number in a session, then the most that the client could hope to do is to act like that person by figuring out the session ID. But they wouldn't actually know the credit card number. So they could go into Amazon if you just used it and buy something and ship it to them. But they wouldn't know your credit card number to put it on some other website. Okay, so the only difference between cookies and sessions in terms of the code, there was the cookies and sessions. You have a session start. So this says that you're going to use a session. And so the claim here is that this is supposed to be up at before any HTML. So the first thing in your PHP file would be a session start, and then this session ID information would be exchanged already with the client. So we'll have a session start, and then after that, we can use this session variable just like the cookie variable. So we could do something like session start. That goes up there, and then, oh wait, that was the file from last time. That goes up there, and then down here, we can say if they submit we'll say $session submitted equals yes or something. So I'm only going to display the form if they haven't submitted it. Okay, so now my logic looks like I'm going to keep track of a session for this person. Whenever they post the form, I'll go ahead and put that they submitted this information. And if they haven't submitted the information, then I will display the form. Why don't I also keep track of, I'll save this information into the session, so I'll do this up here. So there's the information that they submitted. I'll just save one of them. Okay, let's see what happens now. 1, 2, 3, 4. PHP error. What line was that? 18. $. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. Favorite is not spelled right. Is that how to spell favor? Terrible speller. Okay. So what happens if I type enter again? Right now, I'm displaying the form. If they just submitted the form, I'm not displaying the form. So if I hit enter, what should happen? Should display the form. Okay, displays the form. If I want it to be so that it only displays the form once, you know, like forever, then I would do so check the session. Maybe I'll just print note you already submitted this form and your favorite star is PHP error. Awesome. Okay, and that stores that for how long? By default, I don't remember. Does it destroy it? Let's go back in now. Okay, so the session only lasts as long as the browser was up. That's fine. Now I'll do so why didn't it show the information? The note? They just submitted. So there's 3 cases in here. You could make it whatever you want, but there's 3 cases. If it was submitted, then you put the information in the session. If it was submitted sometime earlier, show them that they already submitted. Otherwise, you show the form. So if we hit enter again, we should see that. 39. Okay, what if we want to check what if we want to check the phone number? This was something that we skipped past. So this thing here, what if we want to check that the phone number was correct? Probably would do it with JavaScript, but we're not doing JavaScript yet. So in PHP, there was, let's go and look up what they have for us. Regular expressions. So we'll just do an example with the phone number. Regular expressions. Give me an example. Okay, so if we want to check if the phone number, let's see, where are we? Up here. So let's say we check the phone number. There's a function pregmatch. Okay, so there's a syntax for specifying within quotes a pattern. So a regular expression is just some sort of pattern. So if we want it to be exact, so these are the rules. We have tell me the special ones. Here we go. Or Let's try this. So this is supposed to be some kind of rule. /D is supposed to be a digit. Curly braces 3 means exactly 3 times, then a dash, 3 digits, and then 4 digits. I don't know whether this is going to work. So 111, 222, 133. I entered a bad phone number, so there's something wrong.
A dash between two.
Dash. Of course, now it's not showing me the form. Okay, so there was a destroy session. Does anybody remember the exact, what was it called? We got 1 minute. Session destroy, session regenerate ID. So if I put that in at the beginning, maybe I can do the form again. Please. Let's do this. Okay, so phone number. It stored it and it didn't give me the error message. I don't know. So maybe this is the right expression. So what you want to remember about regular expressions is there's these rules. Let me just say 1 minute of talking about the rules, and then you can read through the examples on your own. That's a mess. Okay, so there's all these different special characters. The main, I don't know, I guess you just have to read through all the examples. So we had a phone, this was a phone number. Now if we wanted to match an email address might be something like, let's see, they have some code for alphanumeric. Any word character is a W. So alphabetical, number, or underscore. So if we do a W plus, so W plus means 1 or more, and that's in this list here somewhere. And then at W plus dot W plus. And then you could optionally have dot. And dot, we actually want the real dot, not, it has a special meaning. W plus, W, let's see, this is getting kind of ugly. This might be an email address. So first you have any regular character repeated some number of times, then you have an @ symbol, and then you have regular characters repeated some number of times, and then a literal dot, and then any character at least 1 times, and then you could have this thing repeated. You could have .cs, .indstate, .edu, so that would be this stuff repeat. I don't know. the star is 1 or more, 0 or more times. So you could have this whole thing 0 or more times. Parenthesis is for grouping. How would you actually use this? You might just skip to PHP regular expression for email address. And take somebody's. Give me one. There's one. I don't know. All right, so what are you doing? You have homework 6, maybe due next time? That's it, right? Homework 4 and 5, I'll grade again when you tell me to. And that's the end. So long.